Welcome to the sixth season of Faith and Sustainability, a podcast where we continue to explore how our faith traditions call us to care for our common home. I'm Leonard Robinson, your host and tour guide, and together we'll dive into inspiring stories, thought-provoking conversations, and the wisdom that guides us in protecting our common home.
And I'm Kat Doyle, your co-host. A reminder that our podcast is made possible through the generous support of Jamie Lanier, the Varlamov Family Foundation, Georgia Interfaith Power and Light, St. Francis Services, and Semco Atlanta. Just a reminder, Leonard, that with all of the people listening, we want to jump in again to these people out in our community where their faith and sustainability intersect. Who are we talking to today?
Well, Kat, we outdid ourselves. Today's guest is Chandra Farley, Chief Sustainability Officer for the City of Atlanta. She's a nationally recognized leader in energy and climate justice, known for her visionary work connecting environmental equity, community resilience, and clean energy. She leads Atlanta's Office of Sustainability and Resilience. She's advancing bold goals like 100% clean energy for all Atlantans by 2035. She's testified before Congress, advised governments at every level, and continues to champion justice-centered climate solutions rooted in community. Hey, welcome to the intersection of faith and sustainability.
Thank you so much, Leonard.
Thank you so much for being with us today. So Leonard, in that introduction is, first of all, wow, that's a lot out there. But maybe if you can start by telling us maybe just a little bit about what it is you do, because that was a lot of words, but can you simplify what your job is?
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you both so much for having me here today. And I get this question a lot when I introduce myself as the Chief Sustainability Officer. I was having an interesting conversation with one of our frontline workers from our Department of Public Works, and he was like, break that down for me. So I am responsible for advising the mayor on sustainability and climate resilience, and working with our departments in implementing and setting policies and priorities for the city's sustainability goals. So as an example, City Council adopted a goal to transition City of Atlanta to 100% clean energy by 2035. Well, there's a lot there. So 3 different pathways, 40 different departments, plus broader. So the city's goals are not just municipal focused. They are very often Atlanta ATL focused. So I have to, most of what I do every day is working in partnership with our various mayor's offices, our various operating departments, corporate and community partners about making sure that Atlanta is a climate resilient, healthy, efficient, affordable, and equitable city.
Well, you know, when I look at your background, I say, wow, she's accomplished a lot, and she's taken on a bigger one in Atlanta, your education and your experience. But your background, I suspect there's a little faith in there, too. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm a Southern girl, so I quote unquote grew up in church. I'm from a small town in Gallatin, Tennessee. And, church is just what you did. You went to football games on Friday night and you went to church on Wednesdays and Sundays, and usually had choir practice on Saturday or some other day. So church has always been a part of our life, but my family was very much rooted in uplifting our spiritual connection to the Lord. So the church is an important place for us to be. And I make that distinction because I think especially even becoming an adult, and even these days, there's a lot of conversation about, religion this and religion that. And I have never had any separation between what it means to be a spirit-led person, a person who is striving to be Christ-like, and the institution of the church. The church is where I learned how to speak. The church is where I learned how to talk to adults and stand up for the youth programs at our church. So I owe a lot of my development to church. And then particularly when it comes to science, I always think about something that my daddy used to say. We used to watch a lot of Discovery Channel, and he was a craftsman, worked with his hands a lot. And we were watching a penguin documentary, and they were talking about the way that penguins take care of their young by kind of sitting them on their feet and wrapping them up in their wings. And he said, the good Lord sure does make a way. And I was just kind of like, yeah, it was just a click for me that there's never been a separation between the science of how things happen, and that has never been a reason to be disconnected from my faith or, the power of the Lord or supreme being, whatever people want to call it, as well. So that's been a very important part of my life and continues to be.
I love that, because our late Pope Francis used to say that all the time. I mean, he was a trained scientist, but his whole idea that science and faith can go together and do work together. And I love when I hear people tell those stories and remind us all that the work you're out there doing, while there may be a science behind it, there's also a faith driving it. So thank you for sharing that. And I love the idea of the penguin story, that sort of thing. And my brother lives in Westmoreland, so I know Gallatin well.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's a small world, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to maybe talk about that. How is the city of Atlanta and the work you're doing in the city of Atlanta, how are the different faith communities being brought into that work?
Absolutely. So I think very much connected to my upbringing, which was also very rooted in civil rights. I was raised by my grandparents. So being Black in the South means that they remember not being able to vote and going to segregated schools, and those later being my elementary schools. And so bringing that civil rights rooting and being reminded of how our church houses and houses of worship were so important to the early civil rights movement and continue to be a place where we know we can go to reach a mass of people. And so partnerships like with Georgia Interfaith Power and Light have been a part of my career for so long. The Grants to Green nonprofit energy and water efficiency program that I used to work on at South Face, our partnership with the foundation, we weren't able to serve houses of worship just because of some of the guidelines. And so when we did come in contact with a house of worship, we were connecting them with Equitable because they ran the same program that we did, just under a different name, specifically focused on houses of worship. I also, most recently, we have been working with Community Church and their Vickers Community Center to become a resilience hub.
Yes.
And what that means is that now they have, in partnership with Groundswell, who is very focused on serving the church community and houses of worship, to make sure that they can operate in times of disaster, because they are already the places that people are familiar with going to for help in times of crisis, whether natural or man-made. And so the partnership with Vickers made so much sense because they are already serving 300-400 meals a week to families out of their pantry. They were a place where people could go for resources during COVID. And so now, through clean technology of solar and battery storage, now they know that if the power goes out, which it can, particularly in, our more disadvantaged, marginalized neighborhoods, that they will still continue to be able to operate should that happen. And that is a place where people could go to charge their electric wheelchairs, keep their insulin cool if their refrigerator's gone out, maybe take their groceries to keep them cool with a deep freezer so they don't lose them in a power outage. So those are some of the ways that I've personally experienced working with churches, creation care, the Pope's encyclical, which, my Catholic friends are, I get to follow that as well. And even, the Tikkun alum refrain from the Jewish community around Repair the World. That was some of the work that in working with the Marcus Jewish Community Center on a project a year ago. So I just always find it so heartening and fascinating how no matter which religion or faith a group might subscribe to, there is always something at the root of all of these about our responsibility to take care of the earth and to take care of each other. And taking care of the earth and taking care of each other is really at the root of sustainability for me.
Okay, in that vein, when did it hit you, faith and sustainability? When did you arrive at that intersection, or had you always been on that road?
I don't feel like I necessarily ever had an aha moment that was just always how you get things done. I mean, working in sustainability is a lot of coalition building, is a lot of partnership building. And when we look at who the strongest, longest serving community anchor institutions are in most any neighborhood, you're going to have a recreation center, maybe a daycare, maybe a school, and some kind of house of worship. So if you want to get something done, you have got to engage. You've got to engage the faith community and whichever church house or house of worship is in a particular area.
That's interesting because one of the things we're really working in the Catholic community and in partnership and collaboration with other faith traditions is how do our houses of worship step up and step forward and lead the way and be leaders in this work. What would you say to those houses of worship? What should they be doing? How should they be coming forward to be a part of this larger network?
It's the same that that I would say to any group or sector. We have a dedicated group of people that we reach on a regular basis. So let's do more education, particularly for the Catholic Church. Let's have more focused sessions on what the Pope's encyclical talks about and our responsibility related to caring for the earth and caring for creation. And also let's use the physical infrastructure of our church to actually demonstrate what that means. So much of sustainability and clean energy, it can be very hard to put your hand on unless you know that you have a super high performing HVAC system, or even if a church has solar or any building, it's often on the roof and people have no idea that it's there. So there has to be more activation around using the physical infrastructure that we have available to us to demonstrate and show people and let people touch and feel what it means to be sustainable and how they can do that in their homes, how they can then talk to their daycare about it. And something, that I've learned in particular, this may be true for the Catholic churches as well. One of the biggest expenses of some churches is utilizing funds to help people pay their utilities. And so there's a lot of dollars that go out from churches and church organizations to help people navigate these things. And so why is that? Who is making that decision? How are we educating people around the Public Service Commission? How are we educating people around how to conserve energy at home?
I love this. You are really, I think, challenging all of us, individuals and faith traditions, to ask those questions about how are we caring for our brothers and sisters, because we are their keepers. I do want to ask you about the part youth play in a lot of the resilience and the sustainability work of the city of Atlanta and also just the ATL in general.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel very much about youth the same way I feel about the faith community. This is not something that is separate and apart from for me. We need everybody to. These are planetary challenges that we are called to address, and the way that we break that down is what we do in our neighborhoods and what we do in our communities. So I have long been a long time partner and collaborator with 21st Century Leaders, which is Georgia's youth development organization, and was grateful to partner with them on establishing the city's first Youth Climate Action Fund. So we received funding from Bloomberg Philanthropies to fund youth projects. So we had an application process, and we were able to, with 21st Century Leaders as our partner and fiscal agent, to provide funding, actual up to $5,000 to youth to implement their own projects. So
I love it.
We're up to about 25 to 30 projects. Our second cohort is wrapping up their projects here by the end of the year. We had one young woman who wanted to work on a project for her mosque, which we were super excited about. And they are working on energy efficiency education and some weatherization, using their dollars to do energy efficiency education and weatherization upgrades at their mosque. You know, from water conservation projects to electric vehicle education on the campus of Morris Brown, these projects are informing how we are prioritizing our main actions that we need to be focused on at the city.
Chandra, where can our listeners get more information about the City of Atlanta's sustainability program?
To follow what we are doing and get engaged, go to 100atl.com. That is where we try to, any information that we have, we're going to try to put it on that website. On that website, there's resources, there's ways to keep up with what we're doing. We are at ATL Resilience on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And if you go to the 100ATL website, you can sign up for a resource network. So we have a 32-member community-led advisory board called the Climate Resilient Advisory Board. This is a board made up of residents from our most energy-burdened neighborhoods, community leaders, partner agencies, all coming together in various working groups. But anybody, even if you're not on the board, is able to participate in those working groups. And so that is an open call to get engaged, find out what you're most interested in, and get to work with us.
Well, that's perfect. I mean, that's exactly what we're always trying to tell people. Find one thing, start with one thing. So this is great for those that are in the Atlanta area. As we're wrapping up, perhaps you might have a story you could share with us about when either a faith community or house of worship, how they maybe helped bring about a change in policy there at the Atlanta city offices.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say they are certainly helping us understand what it looks like to see policy in action. So particularly as it relates to our 100% clean energy goal, having the partnership of Pastor Kevin Early over there and his team at Vickers has been critically important. That there's no better example of sustainability in action right now than what is happening at Vickers. So being able to connect they host neighborhood planning unit meetings there. They have the food pantry, but now they have this additional effort where they're being able to build on their education to talk about opportunities for solar, opportunities for energy efficiency, and how that makes our environments healthy, more cost efficient. And oh, by the way, we're doing our part in repairing the earth and building a creation care ministry. So definitely want to lift up Vickers, but there are many others.
We also want you and the listeners to know that the Catholic Church is also really exploring and working towards this concept of the R hubs, the resilience hubs, and especially bringing in some of our faith community that is in the West End, because I know Atlanta does a lot down there. So I just want to thank you for the work that you're doing, and also let you know that we're excited to be a part of some of that work, and we're lifting up the idea of resilience and sustainability as well.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing that with us. And let's not make this the last time we work with one another. Okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Our mayor, Andre Dickens, he is a deacon himself and also has a faith leaders roundtable and the interfaith luncheon annually. And so I look forward to staying connected and how we can build on the efforts that the Catholic Church is taking here in Atlanta and start incorporating that as another prime example of how we are building out a creation care community right here in Atlanta.
Perfect.
Well, that's it for today. To our listeners, stay connected with us on social media and share your thoughts using the hashtag faith and sustainability.
And do not forget to like, subscribe, and we would love it if you would consider leaving a review as well. Tell us what you like about this program or what you'd like to see on the program. But until next time, Leonard,
we're going to meet you at the intersection of faith and sustainability.
The preceding podcast is a production of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Atlanta. Copyright 2025.